everyone, how's it going? It's Rajan Ramdahal, and today I have another great guest with me. Yes, I am here at Real Brokerage, and I've got Josh Pismeny. And the reason why we're talking today is because he's just like me, doing a lot of business in New York, a lot of business in Florida, and we wanted to kind of get together and just, collaborate and talk about the two markets, what to expect, what to know. So I appreciate you joining me today on this.
No, for sure. I'm glad you reached out to me. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to see how both of our business kind of blend together in a way, and super excited for this. So thank you for having me. I
mean, you're a lot like me. You're New York, you're Florida, you're doing a lot on both sides. So, I mean, I know what my attraction was, but what kind of led you to kind of want to be in both markets, right? Want to be in the New York market and want to be in the Florida market?
Yeah, for sure. It started with me just going down to Florida very often and kind of just falling in love with the area. And I was just thinking to myself one day, like, it's a no-brainer. Let me get licensed here. It's very, very common for Long Island and New York people to sell, to buy down there to retire, or even for a second home, vacation home. So in reality, I just tried to, turn one client into two deals, and as well as simplify the process for the client, because now you're dealing with one realtor instead of multiple, and just kind of make the process easier and put another tool in my toolbox.
I mean, the market's hot down there. Like you said, I mean, a lot of the people that are buying right now in Southwest Florida or South Florida are New Yorkers or people from Northeast. So it's like, hey, if I'm going to work with you here in real estate, then, it'd be amazing to work with you down there, right?
Exactly.
So you get kind of, like you just said, the best of both worlds. I mean, you do also get to enjoy the beautiful weather and everything else that down there has to offer. Yeah. But I think from a business perspective, it's a smart move because, I mean, we've seen such a growth in that business of people from New York that, want to have a vacation home, right? More snowbirds. Even just people that are like, look, for business purposes, I need to have something down there, but I need someone that's going to be able to help me. And so if you're already helping me with everything I'm doing in New York and on Long Island, like, hey, I'm going to trust you to help me out there because you're the expert down there too.
100%, for sure.
And what do you think about, like, because obviously, like I said, that market down there is hot right now, right? Do you feel like this is something that we're going to continue to see where people from New York are going to continue to buy down there? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I have been noticing more sellers going to like the Carolinas, but I think Florida is always going to hold a strong market. I think a lot of New York people just love the Florida atmosphere. There's so many different areas in Florida. As everybody knows, you got north, south, east, west, mid Florida. So I think as long as you're in the right areas down there, you'll always be getting the New Yorkers going down there. Nice. For sure.
Now, I know you just recently joined Real.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, quick question, and you could go into that as well if you want to talk more about it, but did that also influence your reason for joining, is being able to now service clients in both of those areas?
For sure. It was definitely a top three reason why I left. The way Real Brokerage is set up is it's a big umbrella. No matter where you sell real estate, no matter what state, it's all under the same umbrella, the same cap. The same business model. So it simplified my business. My past brokerage, I was separated. My New York business was separate from my Florida business. Gotcha. And as I grow, I can't sustain that. Right, so I needed to simplify, the business as a whole and be able to keep everything under one umbrella, and eliminate that, two different type of businesses.
So can you just break that down for me real quick? Because some people that are looking at this might not understand that, and some agents might be kind of feeling that same way. So if you were doing business in New York, you had to be, in a sense, prior to Real, you had to be at one brokerage, and then in Florida, you had to find another brokerage. And so you'd have to kind of have two different brokerages, whatever fees might be there, whatever restrictions, whatever it might be. And so, like you said, you're kind of like working for two different companies in two different places.
Exactly. So my past company, it was a global company as well. It was a big company, but they had each office independently owned and operated. So I had to join an office down in Boca Raton, and I joined an office in Massapequa. So I had to pay two separate fees that ended up at the end of the year totaling about $2,500, give or take, for the year. So the moment I left, I put an extra $2,500 in my pocket. Right. I had two separate caps for both states. I had two separate royalty fees. So
so you were just bleeding money there.
Bleeding money.
I mean, I'm sorry to say it like that.
No,
but
it's true.
The truth, right?
It's true. So as the business started to grow, I realized more and more that like this wouldn't be sustainable long term. So, and that's why I had to start looking elsewhere. Where can I go and what can I do? And I came across Real, and I absolutely fell in love with the model. And ever since then, the pipeline has grown, and I'm just falling more and more in love with the company.
If you know what I'm asking, like, what specifically about the company and the way they conduct business that, as you said, there are others that are out there, but what specifically with Real is what attracted you?
I would say probably the number one thing would be the simplified business between Florida and New York. Okay. And then number two, the super competitive cap.
Gotcha.
The split/cap.
Yeah.
So the split is very competitive, and the ability to cap is very attractive. I like to keep as much money in my pocket as I can.
Well, because you have to reinvest it, right?
Yeah, to reinvest it into the business. So you're telling me after I do maybe 6 or 7 deals, I can get 100% of my check.
Right.
That's big for me.
Yeah.
So those were probably some of the top reasons. And also just me being young, the ability to build, the stock portfolio as a side thing, and just not even be too concerned about it. But in the back end, it's doing all the work for me. That was very attractive. And some of the other things long term with
the technology.
The technology was
Especially, I'm pretty sure a lot of your buyers, a lot of people are tech focused.
For sure.
They want, I think about just the amount of people we deal with. It's funny because even on the lending side, I can't think of the last person or the last time I've sat down with someone in my office. Yeah. Everyone's always like, hey, send me your mobile app. I'll take care of everything online. I'll take everything on my phone. Like, people have lives. Everyone's busy, right?
Definitely.
People got families and other things that's going on, traveling. And it's not like, hey, I need to physically sit down in your office to do something. It's like, hey, JP, listen, man, I want to buy in, I'm in Long Island. I want to buy in Miami.
Yeah.
Can you get me some properties? Can you, send them to me, do whatever. Yeah. Technology plays a huge part in that.
Definitely does. On my past brokerage, I was part of a team, and we had a transaction coordinator, and one of the things that I was concerned about coming over was handling all the paperwork. And with the app, it's been just such a breeze. You can either take a picture of the client, after they sign, take a picture of the paperwork and upload it right to the app, or we have a built-in e-sign platform that I've been getting more and more familiar with. You could create a whole buyer packet, a seller packet with all the information. You could put your generic information in and then just send it out to them. They all sign it. It goes right into the file and you're done. And it's stored there. You don't have to keep the paperwork anywhere. So that part of it was a little bit hesitant when I first was thinking of what I'm going to do. And it's been so much easier.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people that, like, I know there's a lot of people moving to Florida, and it's funny because there's always this little pushback of what's going to happen in the future. What do you think is going to happen in the market? Do you think that Florida is a bubble? Like, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah.
Like, do you see that market changing? Do you see the demand changing?
I think Florida, since it is such a big state, it's very hyper local. The East Coast is very different than the West Coast, and South Florida is very different from the North Florida.
I'm glad you touched on that, because a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah.
I talk to people all the time, I'm sure you do,
that
are like, hey, I want to move to Florida, and you're like, okay, like where?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
No, it's so true. And it's like, it's hard for me to give a general statement like that, because like it is just a very hyper local state for that particular market. I think the South Florida on the East Coast, where I sort of specialize in, I think that market is just booming.
Yes.
I mean, there's new developments going up every single day, 500 to 800 homes, luxury or non-luxury. It's just, I just see a ton of growth there. I don't think that area is in a bubble, and that's the area I know well, so I'll just speak on that area. You're seeing, some, I've been hearing a lot of insurance, homeowners insurance issues down there. I personally haven't faced any of those challenges with any of my clients yet.
Right.
But so in that specific area, I think it's not necessarily a bubble. I think it's room to grow.
And that's why it's important to talk to someone like you, especially people that are thinking about relocating or just buying, because you being boots on the ground over there, you can have an honest conversation, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Being able to tell them that, look, these are the things that you're going to need to know. These are the things you're going to have to be aware of. These are the things that are important, because you, for your clients, are in a sense protecting them from going into something blind.
Exactly.
Right? Like we just talked about, like someone that's saying, hey, I've got this family, I'm looking for a quiet lifestyle. Like, you're going to be able to tell them, hey, you know, South Florida might not be where you want to go, right? Like, you might want to consider these things. That's important.
It is.
In terms of having someone that understands both markets.
For sure.
And I think, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, the way technology and the way the world's working in general, it's just not limited to one specific area.
No, it's not.
You know,
especially with the remote, you know, ever since COVID, it's been like, I've had 2 buddies of mine that I grew up with that are remote workers that have moved to Florida full time.
Wow.
You know, one in Fort Lauderdale and one in Delray Beach. Yeah. And, you know, they work from home Monday through Friday. You know, they were born and raised here on Long Island, and their families are still here, but they wanted to switch their lifestyle, and, you know, the remote work allowed them to do so.
Do you think we're going to see more agents kind of doing like what you're doing?
I think so. I mean, it's funny because
being in different states.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just me or people just obviously just hitting me up on Instagram, but a lot of agents have been reaching out to me, like asking me questions about how to like manage too, or I'm thinking about getting my Florida license too. Was it easy, hard, blah, blah, blah. So I'm not sure if people have just seen me doing it and maybe just want to see and explore, but I do recommend it if you can balance it the right way. Mm-hmm. You know, the Florida thing is a different ball game. It's a different type of real estate. You may or may not know that Florida is a non-attorney closed state.
Good to know.
So,
can you again just touch on that?
Yeah,
because
so
a lot of people in New York, they're used to, okay, how does this process happen?
Yeah.
You know, the contracts get sent to my attorney, and typical closing time and all that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. So the major difference between Florida real estate and New York real estate is in Florida, you don't need an attorney to close a real estate transaction, whereas in New York, you do. You could hire an attorney, but that's, you know, your prerogative.
Not typical, right?
It's not typical. So transactions do move a lot quicker, whereas, you know, a selling agent or a buying agent are just going back and forth with contracts. So I'll review a contract, we'll go back and forth, and you know, you'll most likely have a fully executed contract in a day or so.
Right.
And
whereas here, there's like a whole attorney review process that could take a couple of days, a couple of weeks.
Exactly. And like here on New York, I would think the average close time is about 45 days.
Yep.
Whereas in Florida, you know, you can close a transaction as quickly with mortgage or not mortgage in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, so you really only need a title closer down there. Yep. So it is a lot
and the thing about New York is you have an on or about closing date, which means that even if it's, you know, 45 days or 60 days, then technically if they wanted to, you could still delay it another, you know, 21 days after that. So you know, you're talking, it can go up to 90 days in New York, which is, you know, Florida, it's kind of pretty cut and dry, 30 days. Yeah, for sure. So with you doing everything that you're doing in both states, and obviously I see you're very successful, you know the market in Florida, you know the market in New York, you know, what is it that you want more people out there that are looking at this to know about you, to know about what it's like being an agent in dual states? You know, tell them more about who you are and what you're doing and just what they need to know. For sure. So mainly I'm just looking to provide great service to clients that are looking for my service. And I think everybody should value that. Whether it's in New York or Florida, being a duly licensed agent does allow you to get more business, but it also puts more stress on your business. You have to, you know, learn a lot more and you have to be more involved. And, you know, basically where I'm at now is I'm looking to build out not necessarily a team, but just like-minded individuals that could help me, because as I am getting more and more busy, I can't be in multiple places at once. I can't be in multiple states at once. So I've been partnering with several agents down in South Florida, as well as here in New York, that, you know, if I need help, I can refer them to a trusted agent that I trust, that I know knows what they're doing, and build it out that way. And really lately just been trying to just take the business to a new level, helping as many sellers and buyers as I can.
and it's looking really good.
Well, we've definitely seen a lot of the activity that you've been doing on your social media, and I know you're bringing that as a big part of your business, and you're getting that out there. And just because of that, you've seen a lot of success where people are reaching out to you and seeing what you're doing, like you said, not just clients but agents, and now they're turning to you as kind of like the expert. In guiding them through that process.
Yeah, for sure. And, whether you're a part of Real or not, if you are looking to be a multi-state agent, you really should explore this company. And because I've interviewed with all the companies you could probably imagine, and I chose this company for a reason. So if you're looking to be a dually licensed agent, you really should consider this company because it is a very attractive model.
All right. Well, JP, listen, I appreciate the time today. I know you're a busy man. I'm pretty sure you're jumping on a flight, going to Florida. You got some real estate to send. But no, I definitely appreciate you kind of talking about both markets, giving some people insight, especially things about, knowing about contracts, just knowing about the process in Florida. Mm-hmm. I'm sure a lot of people in New York are happy to hear about that. And again, I thank you so much for taking the time and jumping on this with me.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great.
All right. Awesome.